comrades. I am here with Boyan Stanislavski, the redactor-en-chef of the Barricade channel YouTube, the Barricade, yes, and other. And we will speak about Poland, the actual situation of country where Boyan are living, and when I am visiting now. 2 days ago I was arrested by the Polish politic, but we don't want to speak only about this. I want to speak about all the situation in Poland. So maybe firstly, could you resume for the people who are not knowing situation in Poland? What is the new order and all this alliance that law and justice and Polish social democracy? It is interesting for me because Polish social democracy all the time are criticizing law and justice in the question of the abortion, question of the LGBT, other stuff. And I think two months ago, two parties together, they are voting to. So could you say something about this discussion?
Okay. So, well, first I want to thank you for having me on your show. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on the rebirth of communism. And I don't know to what extent the viewers of that channel are actually familiar with the situation in Poland. So let me just start by explaining that at the moment, 30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, when it was announced, that we're regaining our sovereignty, we're now going to live in eternal peace, and that everybody's going to be rich and happy, and so on and so forth. Well, none of this really happened. The situation is that we've got a Catholic fundamentalist right-wing, I would even say extremist right-wing government that has been terrorizing a large portion of the Polish population for, well, the last 6 years, and who manages to still collect support from the other portion of the Polish society, mostly thanks to the fact that it did manage to introduce certain social measures that were, and in this way to address the most severe economic problems in the Polish society, something that the previous government had not done. And that's number one. Number two is that Poland is a member of the European Union, is a member of NATO, and is very strongly allied. And there's multiple of reasons for that, to the extent that it's a client state of the United States today. And finds itself, because of the policies of that government and because of the role that it wants to play in NATO as its eastern flank, the vanguard of the eastern flank of NATO, it finds itself in an absolute isolation. First of all, because Catholic fundamentalist conservative policies are in contradiction to the main fundamental, well, I'll use that cliche, although I don't like it, European values or European Union's values, which promotes liberal democracy. Whereas they promote like some kind of illiberal, extremely conservative democracy. So that's number one. Number two, there is a problem with Russia, of course, because the Polish are posturing against Russia very strongly to grotesque extent, and this is all being addressed by the Polish ruling party, not by applying new policies that would actually resolve social problems, economic and political contradictions, but by creating new ones, which means fueling all kinds of divisive topics and making the whole society kind of I like to use that metaphor, putting the entire society on a rusty swing and like destabilize it emotionally and exploit it emotionally to the extent where people are really at each other's throats because of all kinds of, nonsensical or peripheral topics from the point of view of their everyday existence. So this is the Polish madhouse altogether, like, with all the simplifications and so on and so forth, right? Now, in this situation and in such circumstances, you could easily imagine that pretty much every day the government or the media syndicate that supports the government, including the state-owned media, they come up with an outrage almost every day or almost every week in order to, keep the emotional disbalance in place. So it would be very difficult for me, and I think quite audacious to, even claim that in 5 minutes or 10 minutes I could actually encapsulate or summarize all the outrages that the Polish government has come up with over the last 3 months, as you suggested at the beginning. But I would say the following. What is now the topic that contributes to the disbalance of society and continues to give ground to this miserable situation we're in is the great return, the great return of Donald Tusk. Whom our audience might know from, just for the fact that he had this cushy job in the European Union. He was the president of the European Council, if I remember correctly, right? Yes. A president with great prerogatives, where he was able, his great competence was to open the sessions and close the sessions, and sometimes maybe lead the sessions of the European Council. So, of course, this is a well-paid job. I don't know the exact figures, but I wish all of you get that money.
You have to understand that European Council, it is not a Commission European.
No, exactly. That's a European Commission, which is basically the institution with the dictatorial powers in the European Union. Is something else than the European Council. We could speak about that sometime later. It's different. That's why I'm saying it's a job without any responsibility. But a lot of money. So he now comes back, and it seems like, the civic platform, the party of Donald Tusk, those that created the immediate conditions for law and justice to actually win the elections in 2015. He's coming back as if he's the last hope, of the white people here, those who believe in democracy, free market, freedom, individual freedom, and all the rest of it that, all the rest of the story that we were told after 1989, that we have been told because we were still keeping being told that. So he's coming back, and I think that this is probably, I don't know what anyone was thinking. I don't know who came up with this idea. There are all kinds of guesses, hypotheses that it could have been Angela Merkel that told him to go back and finally start reshaping the political scene here. It might have been someone else. I don't know. I'm sure it's not his idea, because he is not a person that comes up with ideas or who takes up his own independent initiatives. We've had 2 terms of civic platforms rule before 2015, and anyone with any minimum, observation instinct, so to say, will see that he was completely impotent when it comes to independent ruling and, running his own projects and implementing his own ideas. So there was...
Yes, but you forget one very important thing, that Tusk also was a member of the government, maybe not personally, but he supported government which existed in Poland in 1997 to 2001, and this government was totally catastrophic.
Absolutely,
everything.
Yeah. That was probably the most catastrophic part of the Polish modern political history. I would even say more. I remember that time because by the time I've already lived in Poland, and even myself, I was like still barely understanding, how things are, who are the main rivals on the political scene here, and so on and so forth. But I remember that day when they introduced the so-called 4 great reforms. You remember that, right? And you don't know that, but the 4 great reforms were the kind of the cherry on the cake of the neoliberal on the installment of neoliberalism here in Poland. So we're talking about introducing all kinds of libertarian free market ideas in pensions, schools, that is education altogether, medicine, right? That is healthcare, sorry. And what was and expanding bureaucracy. Now, next time someone mentions to you that we had bureaucracy under socialism before 1989, that's true, we had. But we had, according to the statistics that that I came across, okay, I can't remember those about Poland, but I remember the proportion was pretty much the same. Now, in Bulgaria, the country that I come from, we had about 75,000 civil servants before 1989. Now we have nearly 200,000, and we went through the same reform as Poland. So that was basically expansion of bureaucracy, partial privatization of the healthcare system, partial privatization or full privatization, almost full privatization of the pension system, and again, I forgot one. So it was administration, healthcare, schools. Administration, healthcare, schools,
pensions.
Administration, healthcare, schools, pensions. So everything was here. Okay, sorry for the distraction. I do get easily distracted. And yes, he was a member of that government. Okay, or well, he was collaborating with that government at the very least. But to be fair, Jarosław Kaczyński, his twin brother actually, was also there as the Minister of Justice, by the way, right? So they're both in it. Like none of them is
and
clean.
The Premier Minister of Jerzy Buzek,
right.
He was totally unpopular in Poland, and after when he was sent in Parliament European, he became the leader of the Europarlament. I don't know.
Yeah. I think he was the chairman of the Europarlament.
Yes.
Like
and they started after 10 years when he finished be prime minister in Poland. When he his last days like a prime minister, he was totally unpopular. Everybody laughing about him, laughing about the result of this reform, but also laughing about that he was the prime minister, but without any power because the power was Marian Krzaklewski, the leader of the.
Yeah, that's another story. It's very confusing because he used to be a union leader and stuff like that. Yeah, but anyway, he was not independent. That's the thing here. He was not independent yet. He was like, officially speaking, in formal terms, he was the most important politician in the country because of the Polish system and the way the Polish political system is structured. And again, now we have the kind of deja vu, right? With Donald Tusk coming and I really think that those who came up with that idea were not familiar or are not familiar with what actually are the sentiments in the Polish society. Now, I don't necessarily like many of the sentiments that that occur right now in the Polish society. I think there's an explanation for that, and I don't want to blame the Polish society for being, bigoted, racist, and stuff like that, because this is not the way. This is not the way to go. I think the Polish people could be fantastic people, only they're not given a chance. But that's a whole different story. What I'm trying to say is that Donald Tusk is not a popular figure in Poland. He is only popular among a small group of people who are obsessively elitist and obsessively in love with the with the notion of the transition and to capitalism, restoration of capitalism, and which is linked, of course, to liberal democracy and introduction of certain mechanisms of liberal democracy here in Poland. So of course, I do think, and I'm sure you agree that it makes sense for us to be able to elect our own governments, but the problem is that it's not enough, because after 1989 certain processes followed which again, I don't have the time to speak about them in details right now, but led to massive pauperization of the large part of the Polish society, massive immigration after Poland joined the EU in 2004, and produced a lot of frustration and law and justice. And again, I could explain that maybe in a different program when we get a chance to talk about it. It managed skillfully to exploit that sentiment of frustration, of helplessness, of all kinds of negative, depressing emotions that were haunting, in the realms of which was the Polish society. So, that's generally speaking. And now Tusk coming, and why is he coming? Because some people think that he can actually revive the civic platform. Guys, the civic platform is dead, okay? I mean, this is a dead horse, and it's never going to be, I don't believe it can be revived to an extent that, Donald Tusk will be the same figure and the same kind of political leader that he, similar to the position that he held between 2007 and 2015. So that's what's coming, and that's what's happening right now in Poland. And the reactions that we can observe are that, of course, the establishment and the part of the establishment that is in opposition to law and justice, and the media syndicate that supports that part of the opposition, they are in orgasm, since I don't know how many days now it's been. Right, but this is like, this is probably the longest orgasm in the recorded history of orgasms. Okay, so this is what's happening right now in Poland, and because they are in this state, they cannot think rationally, and I mean, not that they ever could, but this is particularly difficult for them now. And of course, it's a great present. I mean, whoever did it's a great present for the supreme leader here, for the chairman of the state, as I like to call him, although he's just the chairman of the party, of the ruling party. I'm speaking about Jarosław Kaczyński, who is the kind of dictator of the internal political process in Poland. So it's a great gift for him, because he started using this immediately to consolidate and reconsolidate the party and the coalition around his persona. So we've already seen the renegades, like people who left the parliamentary club of law and justice and something like that. A week or 2 weeks ago or something, going back, shaking hands again with Kaczynski, and he again started doing things which he never consulted before with his coalition partners, including those that they remain in critical dialogue with. All of them are very unpleasant people and politically demoralized and so on and so forth, and they all deserve to be hated. But nonetheless, they have to maintain some interactions, some relations, and Jarosław Kaczyński is ignoring that right now, which means that he feels empowered, by the return of Donald Tusk, and not weakened by any means. And I think that's one. The second question, I think, should be, despite the fact that you said we don't want to talk about it too much, but I think that it is the news of the day, that is of the yesterday's day mostly, that you were arrested by the Polish Secret Service. And I think that, regardless of the fact that it doesn't necessarily translate into something, within the Polish political process, this is something which I would say is symbolic. And I think everybody should pay some attention at least to that, because look, I mean, who are you? I mean, sorry, like without, you're a great person and a great friend and so on and so forth, and you're a great comrade, but from the point of view of the impact that you might have you could potentially have on the Polish political process, you're pretty much like me, just another guy with an opinion, right? So the fact that, they had to arrest you and they had to organize this kind of, as they like to say in Russian, pokazucha, like the kind of, the show off, right? Like the show of force, the show of whatever, is kind of striking. I mean, they seem to be running out of topics, okay? Because they've exploited so many things like Smolensk and the alleged assassination by Putin of the Polish politicians, then war reparations from Germany for the Warsaw Uprising. Now there's this restitution thing between Israel and Poland and stuff like that. And now it's gonna be you, like the communist terrorist, the evil guy who's conspiring allegedly, I don't know, with other people to I don't know what are you gonna do about Poland actually? What's the thing?
What I will do?
Yes.
I will sing my song about Roman Dmowski. No, but I want to add to this is interesting topic about me, but we can continue. But I want to finish about
Sure.
Tusk to say
Sure.
something that Tusk is not only responsible for the privatization of Polish pensions, but in 2011, I think, on 2012, he made a law to wydłużyć czas emerytury.
He raised the pension age, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's the correct phrase in English, but what he meant, the thing he made was, the thing he did was basically when you were able to retire at the, say at the age of 55, if you were one or something, now it's 60, okay? So he basically, forced people to work longer before they deserve, before they're eligible for pension.
So in my opinion, the ruling of Donald Tusk, it is the gift for the Kaczyński, and he could win election only because all the time he can say about the politic of the neoliberal politic of the platform, the civic platform, but also about all this corruption. And one of the in the first speech, Donald Tusk said that Sławomir Nowak is the prisoner politic. Sławomir Nowak, it is a guy who have a corruption in Poland, and after
He used to be a minister.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and after he continued the corruption in Ukraine. So and
Extremely corrupt figure. Yeah.
extremely corrupt who like switches, yes,
Watches. Yeah.
watches,
Like
yes.
expensive watches. Yeah.
Very expensive, and it's very it's the guy. It's everybody is laughing about him.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in first speeches, Donald Tusk said that he is a prisoner politic. So I think that if we want that Donald Tusk don't have. Okay, 3 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna be back. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So where were we? Donald Tusk and Sławomir Nowak,
yes, yes, yes.
and if we want the corruption back, is that what you were gonna say?
Yes, yes. I would like to say that 2 years ago I was arrested by the police politic, which today the government is the law and justice. But first time I was sentenced in 2010 when it was Platforma Obywatelska
Civic platform. Yeah.
was in ruling. For me it is I was sentenced. I was sentenced 2 times in my life. Maybe now I will be sentenced first time. First time I was sentenced in 2003. It was the time of the social democracy. It was I participated in the workers' strike in Ożarów, and in time of the social democracy. After in the time of the civic platform, and now law and justice. So all parties which are in power in Poland, they
Have repressed you.
Yes.
Fantastic. I mean, you see, he's got a record. I mean, that man. Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it changed nothing.
So repression against communists or socialists or lefties or whatever doesn't change, regardless of who's ruling. Okay, so that's one of the, I would say, common denominators for all the political forces after the transition. Look, guys, because of the circumstances, we gotta go, but we'll be back. Okay, I mean, we can talk over the internet once you're back in France, because we're meeting now in Poland in
very secret place.
Yeah, in a very secret place, right? So the Polish Secret Service cannot get a hold of Michał. Anyway, thanks for the short conversation, and I hope to be able to follow up on everything that's been just barely indicated here during our very short discussion. And all the best to everyone out there. Stay healthy, keep fighting, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.